Hey guys, it's Alex Saenger. I'm a realtor here in the Washington, D.C. metro area, focused here in Montgomery County, Maryland, serving clients in North Potomac, Gaithersburg, Rockville, and Potomac, and the surrounding areas, including Washington, D.C. And today we're coming back to AI to ask the question, when someone says North Potomac is expensive, what do you think they're missing? And the reality is that the expenses, the cost of living in North Potomac is directly tied to what school district your house is in. Why does that matter? It matters because what happens in North Potomac in particular is that many, especially on the higher end of home prices, many people have a higher level degree, meaning they have a bachelor's, master's, or even a PhD, or they're a doctor, something like that. And so when you have people that are highly educated, and by the way, most of the time they're married to somebody who is also highly educated. So you have dual incomes at a high level. Those people value education because they understand what it's done for them financially. It's given them the opportunity to live in an area that's expensive, right? But again, expensive is relative. But Montgomery County is one of the most expensive counties, not just in Maryland, but in the nation. So keep that in mind. Montgomery County and Howard County are the two most expensive in Maryland, but in the nation, they rank in the top. Excuse me. So keep in mind that when you have people that have dual income, they're highly educated, they make a lot of money, they understand the value of education. So they want that same opportunity for their children. They want their children to have the opportunity to get into the best colleges or the college of their choice. And by doing that, they're focused on the high school. The high school then is going to prepare that child to apply for college and has the best chances of getting into the college that they want. So house prices are tied to high schools that are tied to ability to get in college or perceived as the best as reviewed by people online. Okay, next question. Can you think of a specific example of two similar homes where the school district alone created a big difference in price? It could be a client story, two nearby neighborhoods, or even two homes that were almost identical, except for the school cluster quantifying the price difference, even though roughly would make a difference in memorable. So the question is, can you think of specific example of two similar homes where the school district alone created a big difference in price? Here's what I will say. North Potomac is on the border of Gaithersburg, Darnestown, and North Potomac, right? So if you look at the map, Gaithersburg and North Potomac overlap. Sometimes they're considered the same thing. Same thing with Darnestown. Now, there's two schools that are in Gaithersburg in particular that I'm going to use for this example. One is Wooten High School, or Thomas Wooten High School, and the other one is Quince Orchard High School. And Quince Orchard High School is off of Quince Orchard Boulevard, and Wooten High School is off of Wooten Parkway, although it is moving to Crown. That's something to note. But it's still going to be considered Wooten. So we can talk about that another time. So here's the deal. Two houses, one in Wooten High School, one in Quince Orchard High School. Same square footage, same approximate condition, and the difference in prices is about $100,000 just because of that difference in location and which school they go to. So it really is a true thing that depending on where you are, the value of the school is different. Now I have to do this all over again because I forgot to record. Okay, so can you think of a specific example of two similar homes where the school district alone created a big difference in price? That's the next question AI is asking me. And the answer to this one is yes. And the specific example is if you take Thomas Wooten High School off of Wooten Parkway, which is, by the way, moving to Crown, and you take Quince Orchard High School, which is off of Quince Orchard Boulevard, And you compare those two schools and specifically compare some of the neighborhoods where the home size and age of home is about the same, you're going to find the difference in price is about $100,000. Yes, it's $100,000 difference between going to Wooten, which is ranked higher in the stats than Quince Orchard, comparatively speaking. Now, Quince Orchard is catching up very quickly, but look for yourself online and look at the difference between the schools. And then look at the difference between the prices, or just give me a call and say, hey, I'm interested in both. We can run numbers and we can show you the difference in the values. Okay, next question. Besides the schools, what are the biggest reasons people are willing to pay more to live in North Potomac? And the example I gave just before was Quince Orchard and Wootton. Here's the thing: Quince Orchard is farther west than Wootton, those schools. And so what that means is the proximity to the highway is further, right? Now, here's what I will say is that if you're living over in Quince by the Quince Orchard High School, you're living over by the Wooten High School, a lot of the shopping is still going to be the same, right? You're going to go to the Kentlands, you're going to go to Rio. Maybe the people over at Quince Orchard, maybe they're not going to come to Falls Grove or Travilla, places like that, but they might on their way home from the highway. If they're coming from the highway to head home, they may actually stop there. So the other examples or the other reasons why people are willing to pay a little bit more, it really the school is the biggest part of that. The proximity, maybe a little bit closer to work, maybe an extra 5, 10 minutes closer to work. By the way, 10 minutes closer to work equates to 20 minutes a day. And 20 minutes a day is almost 2 hours a week, right? So you're buying time. That's the way you can actually buy time is by being closer to work. Just a food for thought. Okay, next question. What's the biggest misconception buyers have about North Potomac being expensive? This is a hard question. Um, it says, for example, some people assume that they can't afford it when they actually can. Do they overlook nearby alternatives? Do they focus too much on the purchase price instead of the long-term value, or it's something else? So, you know, what's the biggest misconception buyers have about North Potomac being expensive? Expensive is all relative, right? Expensive is really just what is it going to cost you every month? And if you can afford that payment every month, then is it expensive? Right? What's your budget for paying your mortgage, your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? That's what you live in. You live in the price of the mortgage payment. You don't live in the price of the house. So expensive is relative to that specific component alone. And yeah, if you can't afford $1 million house, and you want a big, 3,000 square foot house in a great school district, maybe you have to take a hit and maybe say, I'm not going to put my kid in the top. Maybe I'll go one tier down and go ahead and head over to another school district that maybe isn't ranked as high, and I can save a couple $100,000, which is going to save me, two, three, $500 on my mortgage payment because that's more affordable for me. So just keep in mind that there's downsides too to sending your kid to a school that's ranked so high, and that is the peer pressure is unbelievable. My kids, they went to Wilton, and that's why I keep using it as an example. But the amount of pressure that they felt to have good grades, like as parents growing up, my parents were always like, let me see your grades. I need to see your grades. We never had to do that with our kids because guess what? The peer pressure alone caused them to focus on getting good grades. It wasn't me as a parent saying, I need you to do this. So taking a step back from that, maybe not focusing exclusively on what your grades are and focusing more on the whole person, maybe that's something to consider. Okay, the next question is if a buyer asked you, should I stretch my budget to buy in North Potomac? What would you tell them? And so the answer to this question again goes back to what's your monthly payment, right? What can you afford every month? What I will say is this: if you look at the long-term capital appreciation of homes that are in North Potomac compared to those in Montgomery County compared to those in another county, let's say maybe Prince George's County, for example, the long-term capital appreciation of the properties goes up faster than they do in some of the other counties that aren't as expensive, right? So what I found is that in Montgomery County in particular, if you look at a homogeneous neighborhood, by the way, I have a degree in applied mathematics and statistics. So if you've done this analysis, if you look at the homogeneous neighborhood in Montgomery County, over the course of a decade, the values tend to go up anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times over a 10-year period. Now, that's if you look at like over the last 50 years. Okay. So there's no guarantee that it's going to do that. But generally speaking, that's what happens. So if you can push your budget to get into a house, you're going to double potentially the money that you risked, right? So if you're going to stick around for 10 years and you're going to put $1 million into that house, it could be worth anywhere from 1.5 to $2 million 10 years later. But if you did the same thing for an $800,000 property, now you're at anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4. So you can see that difference of that $200,000. I'm going to make an extra $100,000 or $200,000 by pushing myself because I'm going to double the bank's money, not just my money. Okay. Now the AI is going to go ahead and compile this as a blog post, and we'll be putting that out for you to review. Hope you enjoyed it. Come back next time for another one, and we'll see you soon.